But this character exists only in legends, and he was active approximately 4,000 years ago. Now, before he became known to be the Dark Lord of Hunger, we know virtually nothing about his earlier life. Now, during the final battle of the Mandalorian Wars at Malachor 5, he survived the activation of the Republic's mass shadow generator superweapon, which resulted in the death of almost everyone on the planet's surface and in its orbit. But after the destruction caused by the superweapon, the man that would later become known as Nihilus found himself trapped on the planet, all due to the artificially created mass shadows. Now, these shadows also affected the opposing fleets in space, including the Mandalorians, who had committed all of their forces to battle, and as a result, the Dark Lord took ill due to the effects of the shadows. Now, grieving his losses and seeking a means of survival, Nihilus began to experience emotional pain, which manifested as this emptiness inside of himself. This emptiness soon turned into an intense hunger, and without intending to, Nihilus started to drain the life forces of the other survivors, which did temporarily ease his hunger and painful memories. However, this emptiness and hunger only grew more relentless after each feeding. Nihilus found that the more he fed, then the shorter the satisfaction, and the more powerful the hunger became. Now, some time passes and Kreia, or Darth Treya, finds Nihilus and identifies him as a wound in the Force. So she takes him in and teaches Nihilus how to use his abilities. He soon comes to learn how to consume the life force of an entire planet. He then became a Dark Lord of the Sith and was dubbed Darth Nihilius. And because of his affliction, of course, he was also given the title of the Lord of Hunger. Now, he, Kreia, and Darth Sion all became the Sith Triumvirate. Over time, Nihilus became more and more powerful and corrupt through each consumption of planets. When Nihilus and Sion decided that the Jedi simply needed to be wiped out in a straightforward assault, Treya had opted for a under-the-radar, longer approach. With the two others disagreeing with her, they defeated her and then cast Treya out. Years passed and Nihilus and Sion went their separate ways, killing Jedi in their own way. But Nihilus prioritized his fleets towards worlds that were strong in the Force to satisfy his hunger. However, Nihilus's body was soon deteriorating. Because of his consumption by the dark side and his hunger, he was slowly withering away. So to stop himself from dying, Nihilus took his spirit out of his body and places it in the armor that he wore. So the dark side would continue to consume his body, while also still giving him a form to use his weapons and Force abilities. Soon enough, Nihilus had no physical form. More time passes and the Jedi Master named Atris, she arranges for a number of Jedi to appear on the world Qatar. She does this to lure out the darkness that she was sensing. Needless to say, this worked. Nihilus shows up and he drains all of the life on the planet that touches the Force. He then decides to take a stroll on the surface and he discovers a lone survivor. This was a Miraluka named Visas Ma. Nihilus rescues and heals her and he makes her his shadow hand. The two had also developed a very powerful Force bond with each other. But what we see in the video game, the Knights of the Old Republic 2, Visas Ma then ends up switching sides and aids Meetra Surik in defeating the Sith. Time then passes on and Kreia then manipulates events that lead back to Nihilus, where he believes that there is a large amount of Force sensitives on the planet Telos 4. The Republic and Mandalorians then ambush Nihilus's fleet, and a strike team boards Nihilus's flagship, where Meetra Surik and Visas Ma face off against Nihilus. Proving to be almost overwhelmingly powerful, Visas Ma then disrupts their Force bond, which in turn affects Nihilus's ability to use the Force. With that, they were able to defeat him. While he seemed to have disappeared, leaving behind his cloak, his mask and lightsaber, Nihilus's spirit lived on and his armor was then taken to be buried on Korriban. But Nihilus's spirit could still be accessed through his holocron. Many years later, Darth Krayt, the leader of the One Sith, summons Nihilus and two other Sith Lords and asks for their help. He wanted to be able to overcome his infection that was caused by the Yuuzhan Vong. But Nihilus, along with the other two Sith Lords, refused to help him. That is as far as we got with Darth Nihilus. Hope I helped.